Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for ICONversations. The ICON program is designed to celebrate our company's top producers. These agents have not only exceeded capping status, but have also reached exceptional milestones, earning them various stock grants and the opportunity to earn back their paid company dollar. And let me tell you, we have a panel of amazing icons today. From New Hampshire, we have Donald Godreau. From Arizona, we have Trevor Halpern. From Ontario, we have Chris Steves. From California, we have Darren De Silva. And our amazing moderator today from Alberta is Larry Matria. Larry, take it away.
Oh, hello, everyone. Good morning. How are you doing? Everyone's great?
Great.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Today we're going to be diving into key habits, strategies, and mindset that helps agents not only survive but thrive in today's economy. But first, let me just, I'm just going to tell you that I'm very, very excited today. This is my first time talking in here. I'm like, yeah, you got to get used to it. I need to get used to it because I talk to people, right? So, just let me tell you about my story a little bit to inspire you. I used to be in a brick and mortar like everyone else around here. I moved to XP last year. And in 1 year, I had hit a EXP icon agent, which quite surprising to me and very exciting. I just want to tell you what I before I get started, what I think I do different than other agents in my market, because really that sometimes is the key. I live by a process actually. Like if you ever read the book of in the Bible, in the Solomon, the story of Solomon. So basically, when he asked God about this thing, like, "Oh, what do you want?" God said, "What do you want?" He asked for wisdom, and that was when he asked for wisdom, God gave him everything: money, fame, everything else. And that reflects to me. I was like, when I was in a brick and mortar and paying all these fees, I was like, it was affecting my attitude towards money. Like I'm looking at people like money. And then when I moved to AXP, it's like it's not about money. It's about service, and I was able to serve my client better and all that stuff. And and the result of that, the service, I give service, and the money just comes. I don't look at people for money anymore. So I guess that's my story. That's all I want to share. And today I'm gonna ask questions to everyone. I'm excited to meet all you guys. Darren, Chris from Ontario, Trevor from Arizona, and Donald from New Hampshire. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming in here today. And thank you for all the audience that are listening to us. Let's get into the first question here. So basically, I'll start with you, Darren. So how do you differentiate yourself from other realtors in your market? And what do you say? What is the key factor that you believe help you to become an icon agent?
Yeah, thank you, Larry. Thank you for sharing your story as well. Good morning, everybody. What differentiates me from everybody else? Well, I would say the biggest thing that I try to do is I try to talk less about myself, and all the great things I've done, all the awards, all the glory, and I try to not be the guy that tells you about all the accolades I have and asks the people questions about their motivation and kind of showing. I try to show my clients rather than tell them. I don't tell people I'm a National Association of Realtors 30 under 30 icon agent, all these things. Like I never bring these things up to clients. I just let them figure that stuff out for themselves. If they want to find out, they can type my name in. And so I try to, I find that, the more you try to sell yourself like that, the less people want to hear. People are more interested in the way that you make them feel. Not when I talk about myself. And I find that a lot of real estate agents like to talk about themselves. And I would say that's the biggest thing that differentiates me from everybody else. Now, granted, you do have to market yourself, and you do have to, do a little bit of marketing, right? But I think there's a line there. And I think real estate agents are known for having amazing egos. But I think it can also hurt. I think it also can hurt you if you if that's all you talk about. You're not worried about asking questions, finding motivation of clients, getting to know them, building rapport. Like, those things are what matter. Because people they don't care about how much you know, and they care about how you make them feel. So I guess that's what makes me a little bit different.
Awesome. Thank you, Darren. Yeah, no ego. Okay, Chris, go ahead.
So yeah, you're asking what kind of what separates me from other agents. So yeah, I mean, listen, I find that very hard to kind of answer, to choose one thing as an answer there. Like, number one, yeah, you got to be yourself. You got to act with honesty and, be like genuine with who you are when you're dealing with people, because if you're not, they're going to see through it right away. And you're going to come across as kind of a salesy person that doesn't really care about the well-being of the client. And so, I always try and be myself, and I do my best to put myself in my client's shoes and, ask, what would I do if I were them and I was buying or selling a certain property? And I treat it like it's my own money. And when I do that, I find it's really helpful to just to make sure that they're getting the best advice and the best service, and that, no matter what, you're always putting them first, instead of just trying to make a sale and kind of force things through. But aside from that, I mean, there's a very, very long list of things I find that you will need to do as a realtor in order to set yourself apart from the competition. And, the old saying of talent, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. This is a business of hard work. It's long hours, it's hard work, and it's attention to detail with every single thing you do. So, you got to be ready to, at every step of the way with everything you're doing, you got to give it your best, right? So, I like to think I do that. I make mistakes as much as the next people do, but I certainly put in the effort to get there. So.
Thank you, Chris. So just summary there, be yourself, and do a good service. That's awesome, Chris. Thank you. Trevor, can you answer the question, please?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
You're good.
Okay, good. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to be here and to see some people in the audience. And, I think market differentiation and agent differentiation is exceedingly important in this business. If you're one of those agents that is copycatting what other people are doing on social media and TikTok and the look and the feel, you've already lost the game. My philosophy has always been, since day one that I entered this business, something like similar but different. Of course, there are things that we have to do. Of course, there are things that social media presence, for instance, mailers, you name it. I'm a network-based agent, so staying in front of my network of clients and referral sources and friends and family and potential other folks out in the marketplace is exceedingly important. But the easiest way for you to get drowned out is to look and feel and act like everyone else. There are plenty of agents out in the marketplace that will see what other agents are doing and will go to their marketing rep at a title agency or a marketing person and go, do you see this? You see what this person is doing? Create this for me. And if you do that, you get drowned out. And so that philosophy of similar but different means, yes, I'm going to do social media posts. I'm going to do everything that I need to do to stay in front of my audience. But what can make it different? What is the so what that the people that are viewing my content and receiving my mailers and my newsletter and all of that? That's the question I always challenge myself and my team to answer. So what? Why do people want to engage with this? Why does it matter? If it hits their inbox, is it going to look like everyone else? Is it going to feel like every other agent? Because there are other agents that are your clients and friends and network, they're consuming those agents' content as well. And so how do you stand out? How do you differentiate yourself? For me, again, similar but different, I've developed a brand. My brand is very recognizable. It is. I've created a brand standard, and so when anything hits anyone's inbox digitally, mailbox physically, when we're doing social media, when we have other media hits, all of it is instantaneously recognizable as me. And so much of the victory that we can create as real estate agents is recognizable collateral and brand recognition and top of mind awareness. And so making sure that you are doing what you need to do, but standing out a little bit, for me, that has been a major point of differentiation from a marketing standpoint. And then from a delivery standpoint, once I get in the room, being highly process oriented. Not allowing the tail to wag the dog, not allowing clients to swing me to do things that I know aren't in their best interest. And so leading the conversation, leading it with process, leading it with repeatable procedures for my team, leading it with strategy. Right there, if I'm the fourth agent in for a listing presentation and I start talking about our processes, our procedures, our standardization, and our strategy, it's automatically different. I don't roll in there with a presentation and drop a file on their table and go, hey, we're going to talk every page of this PowerPoint or bring in a projector. It's conversational, but through that conversation, we're developing strategy and we're discussing process. And those two things I find a lot of agents don't necessarily focus on. So differentiation through process, through strategy, and through brand recognition and being similar but different.
Awesome. Thank you, Trevor. So be unique, be similar, but not similar, but different. That's awesome. We're going to go to Donald now. And Donald, I like your last name, Goodrow. My favorite player is Johnny Goodrow. So that's awesome.
Okay.
Anyways, those same questions, please. Thank you.
We're all sports stars in the Goodrow family. But I would say my key is that I'm 68 years old and I just went Icon. So I walk in there and they're like, what is this old man doing? I have to differentiate I got to keep up with the 23-year-olds and the 33-year-olds and everyone in between. And so for me, it's simple. Time on planet, TOP. And I get into it. I have life experience. I have 22 years real estate experience, and I have 10 years marketing before that. So I'm really good on the phone. I'm really good in person. And I relate to the people. Essentially, I'm an expert in disc management and understanding people. And so I want to be like an old shoe. I want them to see me like a brother and that this guy won't let me down. Like, for example, I have about a 60-40 split on, seller to buyer ratios. And so with my buyers, I walk in, I show them the home and I'm like, you don't want this house. That roof is about to die. The boiler's on the fritz. It's butt ugly. You got to paint everything. I'm just totally transparent. And they love that. They're like, I trust this guy. He's not trying to sell me the first product I see. And when I go into a seller, I'm expecting that I'm up against 3 or 4 others. And so what I learned early on in the business when I was a rookie was we had a trainer that taught me you have to know the competition. So I walk into every market analysis and touring the home of getting to know them, number one, but number two, I'm showing them, like, I ask them who's the competition, and they tell me, oh yeah, Janie over at Caldwell Banker and Bill over there at Keller Williams, and yeah, I know them. I try to know the agents in the marketplace, and I kind of say they're great people. I never knock anybody, but I go, here's a little bit how we're different, and I explain it. But I come off, more real, more. I try to do things differently. Like, for example, if you go to, say, Craigslist and you look up and down the housing markets, it'll say 3-bed, 2-bath, 3-bed, 2-bath, 3-bed, 2-bath. I don't do that. I go, this is an amazing property. You don't want this one to slip away. You've got to come up with verbiage that's going to make you stand out from the old 3-bed, 2-bath sayings that are out there. So essentially that's it. And I noticed there's 4 guys on this panel. And I just want you gals out there to know that you can do this just as easily or better than we can do it. So go for it.
Awesome. Thank you, Donald. Yeah. So basically, what he's saying is that practice what you're good at. Then you practice at work. He's very good at what he does. So that's what he's doing. It's whatever works and whatever you're good at, focus on that. So that's great. So now we're gonna talk about everyone. It's just do you use any lead generation, or if you use any, what's the most effective lead generation that you're using right now, and how do you keep those leads consistently so that you can turn them into clients? I'm gonna go to you again, Darren. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Larry. Thank you for everybody. I got a lot out of what everybody shared this morning. Lead generation, I would say for my team, it's a little bit different than what I've always had a referral based business for myself. I've had, even starting the business, I told myself I would never take an internet lead and buy leads and all that. So I just always had a thing about that. For me personally, when I decided to create a team, that totally shifted. And now, everything for my team is all internet based leads. And so we have systems and processes for that. So, for me, it just depends, for me personally, I have a referral based business. I do a lot of events. I have systems and automations to keep in touch with my clients. I use, automated mailing systems. I use nurture systems, emails, weekly newsletters, lots of things like that, just to nurture the people who already know, like me, and trust me. I have a database I've built my entire life, so I don't need to buy leads. However, for my team, who some people, they're young, they don't have a big sphere. They don't have, what I've been able to build in relationships over the years. So I understand that. And so they need opportunities. So a lot of what we do is we purchase Zillow leads, Google pay-per-click, Facebook leads, all the above. We use Sierra Interactive as our CRM. That's how we use it. It's an all-in-one platform website. Good SEO. KV Core is obviously great. We've just decided to use this because of the systems that we have. GGMS, which is it's a system-based company where they just kind of go in and plug in all of your systems and processes and behavioral alerts. When somebody looks at a property, they get a text message. All those back-end things that doesn't require the agent to be staring at their computer all day and responding. So we try to take that away from them. So it really handles a lot of the nurture process. I think that's most important. It's more about just touches. That's what I'm always thinking about, is how can I touch these people consistently, whether it's a newsletter, email, text message. That's the goal. And once we get them to respond, the goal is to get them on a phone call. It's always a phone call. So if you're trying to avoid phone calls, then good luck, doing well in this business, because everything, even the automations and the systems, you got to talk to the people eventually. So, but that's the goal for all these systems and processes. It's just to make the phone calls and the opportunities to jump on the phone with people more consistent, and kind of break through all the people that are just kind of tire kickers, and just try to minimize the amount of time you waste on people like that, and you can put it towards hot leads. So I would say that's kind of how we nurture our clients, is we just focus on systems, which I absolutely hate doing, but it's a necessary evil, to run a business. And so I have to learn. That's I think what has been the best thing for me in this business, is I've had to, everything that I don't want to do, I just, you have to do and learn. And if I don't know how to do something, you just go on YouTube, type it in Google, find a mastermind, find a seminar, and learn. The learning's in the doing. Unless you got to have a bunch of money and you could pay for somebody to do it. I didn't have that. So I had to learn and do everything myself until I was able to, generate enough income to start to leverage other people. So that's what we're doing right now.
Thank you so much, Darren. That's a lot of good information. I'm gonna go ahead to Chris.
Okay, so lead generation. I like what Darren said. I'm a big fan of working with your, existing sphere of influence, friends, family, and connections, people that know, like, and trust you. I'm big on newsletters as well, because it's a direct way to connect with them and keep in touch. I think that most people at this point are doing social media. Like all of us have certain social media platforms that we like. I do a company referral exchange for Google AdWord leads. I like them. I get a lot of deals out of them. You guys could probably look for them. They seem to service most of North America. Facebook ads, I find those can be pretty successful as well. I mean, dealing with these digital leads, they're, you get a lot of garbage, and I think that everybody knows that. And it can be time consuming and a bit frustrating, but it works. And if you have some good marketing team that knows what they're doing, that are handling your ad campaigns, then you will have success with that. So yeah, I run meta ads as well, so Facebook and Instagram, and I think Facebook is the better source. It's platforms with a little bit more mature crowd. I shouldn't say that, it's not always, but that's what's worked for myself and the people I work with. So but I think, above and beyond all that, like, it's great lead generation with these tools, but it's, the face-to-face and the direct connections. I put a lot of emphasis into email, my email newsletters, because I think that social media is very saturated, and every other agent out there is doing Instagram posts and making comments on Facebook, and maybe they're using LinkedIn. There's just so much of that it's pretty watered down, and it's very easy for viewers to just skip over these things. Whereas if you're providing very real quality content with a direct email, And I always try and make sure that my content is bringing value to my viewers, that's relevant and current, and ideally makes them feel like you're somebody that's in the business, that knows what they're talking about, that is there to help. And that's obviously an excellent tool to keep in touch. And I will have past connections, leads, and clients from many years ago that they just happened to read one of my emails at some point, and like, oh hey, they reach out, they're buying or selling, or they're getting ready to take some kind of action. So I really emphasize the effort in that, and absolutely play around with Google and Facebook leads and see what you can get out of that. And then after that, if you like the open houses, I'm not a big open house guy, but that can be excellent. Some people build their careers on open houses. So those are a few suggestions from my end.
Awesome, Chris. Thank you so much. So far, we're getting different things going on here, but mostly it's staying with keeping contacts and on a personal level. Trevor from Arizona, can you answer that question, please?
Yeah, absolutely. As again, similar to Chris, I'm a network-based, sphere-based agent, and that really does require us to stay top of mind. As one of my mentors likes to say, this is a mouthful, but he likes to say that sales is a network of conversations large enough to carry a given target. And what that really means is, let's just say you have a goal of, hey, I want to sell 10 homes this year, or I want to sell 10 million in real estate, or 30 or 50 or 100 million in real estate. Whatever your goal is, you've got to create a network of conversations out in the marketplace that are operating and connecting when you aren't even doing so, when you are physically not present. And so what does that entail? That entails a blanket of marketing and advertising and top of mind awareness, so that, when you're at home, eating dinner at your dinner table, but someone in your network is out to dinner with friends and friends mention real estate, you want your referral sources, your friends, to go, hey, if you're thinking about buying or selling, like, you have to talk to my buddy Trev. He's the best, and here's why. That is a network of conversations. So my marketing and my lead generation is designed to continue to be top of mind, to continue to spin up and spin out that network of conversations, so that my people who are party to my marketing and advertising are the megaphone. They take what I started and they continue to amplify it out in the marketplace. That also means a lot of giving. It means truly caring and being concerned about the people in my network, calling them, texting them, not just like, hey, you guys are receiving my marketing, but when someone pops in my head, I'll pick up the phone and call them, or I'll text them, hey, you just popped in my head, how are things, blah blah blah. And it's amazing, this underlying connection that we all have with one another. I'm sure everyone in the audience has had a situation where you think of someone and they call you, or you think of someone and you call them and they go, no joke, you were just on my mind. That happens all the time, and it is actually a viable lead generation source for me. So when I pick up the phone and call someone, or connect with them, it is very frequent that a week or two later, someone will call me and go, hey, I just talked to, Chris, or I just talked to Darren, and they said you're a great agent and I should talk to you. We're thinking about buying, or we're thinking about selling. And so it's just these touch points that are that just spin up that network of conversations. As far as the give is concerned, I do a lot of things where, I'll have little I like to give items of value or items of use. I'm not a guy who's going to give you a Starbucks gift card if you refer some to me, or something like that, because people can assign a dollar value to it. I like to give nice things and things that I use. Like if someone gives me a referral, I send them a branded Yeti. They carry that Yeti around and it goes with them. And then people start making further connections and conversation. Oh my God, I've seen that face. Who is that guy? Or oh my God, you know Trev too, right? These just give that sort of component of a continued conversation. Additionally, I'll do stuff like, it's getting to be summer, and in Phoenix, it's already hot. It's going to be 107 degrees here today. And I've got little branded koozies, and I have like tall can and I have small can. And I'm not saying that everyone in my network is like a beer drinker or whatever, but you can use them for LaCroix and whatever. So we'll just stuff those in an envelope with a little insert that says, here's to summer, stay cool, blah, 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 with no ask, no QR code, no, hey, take a picture of yourself with a beer in my koozie and tag me in Instagram. No ask. I'm all give. And because I'm all give with no strings attached, it develops in people's minds the idea that, one, I'm a positive influence and I just gave them something. How cool. And then two, subconsciously, sometimes they think, man, I need to give back to him. What is that give back? Well, sometimes it's they take me to lunch. Sometimes it's, they send me a referral. But the overall goal is not for them to feel like they have to give back, but it's just to give. I give cool little items. I'm staying top of mind. They know I'm a resource. They know I'm an expert. They know that I have more to offer than just real estate advice. And so staying top of mind allows me to generate leads in a very organic manner, and in a network-based, brand-based, give-based, heart-forward-based business.
Awesome. Thank you. So yeah, give and don't expect a return. It's going to come. Provide value. Okay. Donald, I'm going to go to you.
Okay, I love what I'm hearing. All good ideas. I assume most of the people in the audience are fairly new and are looking for ways to start generating business without spending a lot of money. And so I have a few mentees in my group, and I tell them, do things that are very inexpensive. Something like, for example, someone invites you to a party. Always free yourself to go if there's a potential candidate in that audience that you can talk to about real estate. So that's a free thing you can do. One thing I do, there's a little print advertising doesn't work in the most part, but almost every town in America has a little local paper. And just for giggles, I threw it in there because right now the largest buying group is really baby boomers, and they still read the paper. So if you can get a low-cost local ad, throw it out there. And I just renew it mine's quarterly, so I just renew it every quarter. It's nothing. It's $50. And so that keeps me out there. Oh, yeah, what about that Don Goodrow? He's out there. Let's call him. So that's one thing you can do. Another thing is if you're a single person in the business, you don't have a group, then you want to do at least 8 different separate and distinct lead generation ideas. It can be, number one, there's some free stuff like throw your name out there on all the sites. Sign up as a Zillow agent where you don't pay a dime, but they still throw you leads. Sign up on all of them, MSN, Yahoo, any of them that are real estate sites. And then what you have to do, like know your numbers. For example, if you were to do a sphere and you were to do postcards, understand that only 1 out of every 200 may respond, and it goes in the trash in 14 seconds. These are statistics from the United Parcel Service. I mean, you have to do a little bit of research to figure out, is this really one of my 8 lead sources? And so I've listened to almost every coaching program out there over the last 22 years, and I have a good memory on what works, what's the numbers game. And so what I do from October to December, I'm evaluating. It's slow anyway around here. So I evaluate everything, what has worked and what hasn't worked. and I look at my 8 lead sources, and what I determine is, okay, I got these first 5 are fantastic. I'm going to keep that. But these other 3, I had them for a year. They don't work. So I got to replace them. And so I start the search on how to replace them. And then again, if you're in a group and you have a team, I'm not on a team, but I hear from coaching that you should have at least 12 separate and distinct lead sources. And the most important thing I can tell you is once you finally get these leads, don't save them like in a jar. You have to be able to look at them. You don't even have a lead unless you call them. And then what I do is I categorize them A, B, C, D. A, 30 days. B, 60 to 90. C, somewhere in the next 6 months. D, they may be dead, or I may never hear from them again, but I'll say hi every month or two, but I know what they are. And any of my hot leads, they're the ones I focus on. So be sure you're working your leads when you finally, because you're paying money and effort to get them. Make sure you work those leads.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's all great information, Donald. Yeah, using those categories. For myself, I do warm. I choose red, orange for cold, or blue for cold. So, anyways, yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I just want to add too that uh, just for someone new out there, because I came from that background also, and in a different market. Like I'm in Alberta, I'm in a small town in Ponoka, and basically we're very close to Red Deer, which is more population. I get to go to events, let's say some sponsorship events or basketball or stuff. I go to there and just be there, present all the time, or when you have time, and people will get to know you. And when people see you all the time, you know what? They call you, right? So just get to know people, be genuine, and yeah, let them know you are here, you're a realtor, right? Perfect, thank you. We're gonna go to the next question here. So basically, the market is changing all the time. So right now, I guess the question is, with the market shifting regularly, how do you stay ahead of trends and adjust your strategy? And what's your approach to pricing a property to ensure a quick sale? We're gonna go ahead to Darren, please.
Yeah. What's my approach to pricing a property accurately? I mean, for me, it's just looking at the comparables, looking at the market. Whenever I talk to sellers, I try to stay away from I statements. This is the price I think. I try to use the wording of, guys, this is what the market's suggesting that we price the home at. I try to put it away from me, and it's more, hey guys, this is I wish we could price it for $1 million, but the market's saying this is what it would sell for. I think focusing on pending is very important, and the days on market, because that's although they're not closed comparables, we can kind of see where the market's going based on days on market. For example, if I don't know what it's closing at, but if I see a house that went pending 7 days ago, and it went pending in 7 days, there's a good chance that house probably got multiple offers. So if it was priced at 700,000, it probably went a little bit over at least at list price. So, that's what I'm going to tell my clients is, based on the days on market, we can kind of determine where the market's at now, as opposed to closed listings. Say it closed today. Well, that offer was made 30 days ago and the market's completely different 30 days ago. So I think that's the best way to determine, pricing. But again, the market's, it's a little rough right now for sellers, at least for me, depending on the price point you're in your area. If you're in the top pricing, in your area, and you're not like in the mid to lows, you're probably doing a lot of price adjustments. I know we are. It's brutal right now, But I think that's why it's so important. The days of just being able to list a house and not do the staging, not do the paint, not do all the necessary things that a house should look like, that deserves to go over list price, it would sell for. Those days are over. If you want to get your list price or over, I mean, you got to be dialed in and priced right. So those are the types of conversations I'm having with people, and the ones that aren't following my suggestions. Typically, we're having these price adjustment conversations. How do I deal with that? How do I deal with those conversations, which we all love? Well, I try to, if they don't want to, follow my suggestion with pricing, or the market's pricing, I'll tell them, why don't we do this? Let's go with your pricing, and let's see how the activity is through the first weekend of the open houses. Let's gauge, if we get a lot of people and a lot of interest, then we probably know we're priced okay. If we get not a lot of showings and not a lot of people, well, right there, we know instantly that we probably need to adjust where the market's suggesting, and still be able to utilize that momentum of being fresh on market. Because once you're past 30 days or the first 2 weeks are the most important, right? And so once you start getting past 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I mean, you've lost your leverage, and your ability to really negotiate with buyers. You can't, after 45 days on market, you can't say, I got 3 offers, so your leverage kind of goes away. A week, 2 weeks, I could pretty much say anything, and they'll probably believe me. So that's, I guess, how I'm approaching pricing. Yeah, I'd probably just answer that half of the question. It took up enough time.
Awesome. Thank you, Darren. That's a very honest answer. I love that. Yeah, Chris, I'm going to go ahead with you.
Sure. Well, I like everything Darren had to say there. Some very good points. And, I'll echo a lot of that, the sentiment there that, pricing right now is extremely crucial. Certainly in Ottawa, Ontario, it is very important to price things properly if you want them to sell. And we're in a slower market up here. Certainly, I've got a handful of condo listings right now, and they're very slow. And so I think as agents, it's our job to really be in tune with what's happening in markets and various segments of these markets. Buyers everywhere are extremely dollar conscious right now. Certainly here, anyways. I'm assuming we're all experiencing that somewhat. So, yeah, it's so important to make sure that you're really, really paying attention to pricing. And as Darren said, when you're meeting with clients, it's obviously very important to educate them on what's happening within the market so that they understand, what supply and demand is like, what the competition's doing, and what pricing should be in order to get it sold. We all know the dangers of overpricing a property. It's still something I run into on a regular basis when you've got sellers that want more money than a home's worth. And, we do our best to explain to them that that's going to backfire on them, and it's not going to go well. And, sure enough, hindsight's 2020, and, it can be difficult to get certain sellers to really, get on board with certain pricing strategies. So I make sure I set up my sellers on, an email search for their area, weeks in advance of the listing going up. so that by the time we're ready to post the listing, they should be fairly up to speed with what the pricing and what the competition's doing. And so ideally, it's going to make things a lot easier when you say, hey, we should price this at $750 or whatever. They're not going to kick and scream too much at that point. But yeah, absolutely. Pricing, very, very, very important right now. Very important to educate your clients, your sellers, and it's a very competitive market where I am, where we have a lot more listing inventory, more listings right now than we've had in the last, I want to say, 6 or 7 years. Inventory here in Ottawa is piling up really fast, and everybody's saying, where the heck are the buyers? So, that's it. It's just to understand that the market you're in and make sure you're adapting really quickly to a changing market. So.
Awesome, Chris. Thank you from Ontario. I'll answer that question for you. Where the heck are the buyers? They're going here to Alberta to move, right?
Unfortunately, you are right. They are. You guys are in a lot better spot than we are.
Yes, it could change sometime too, but I think we're pretty good here right now. Trevor, I'll give it to you. Thank you.
Yeah. What I like about the question, with the market shifting regularly, how do you stay ahead of trends? That's the one thing that we know for sure is that the market is changing constantly. Not just regularly, but day to day. To Chris's point, it's like, okay, you got inventory stacked up. It used to be, here in Phoenix specifically, we were running way behind on inventory, a third of what we normally have. Now we're back to normal, and it all shifted in like 3 months. And so, the way that I try to, and it's not necessarily stay ahead of the market trends, but it's adapting to them as they go, is, every market trend that occurs, whether it's micro or macro, presents an issue for either sellers or buyers. And so for me, my entire goal as markets shift is to try to figure out what that shift is, not the source of it, not try to turn myself into an economist, not try to solve the overall issue within the economy or the market or whatever, but to zoom out enough so that I can see, okay, sellers are having an issue in this market because there's lots of competition, or buyers are having an issue in this market because interest rates are high. And so as the markets shift and as you talk to enough clients, you can see the themes developing. These are the 5 things in front of buyers that are preventing them from buying. These are the 5 things in front of sellers that are creating log jams in their ability to sell the property. And so for me, it's like I'm almost like a detective, like a marketplace detective in trying to create solutions for what's in the marketplace. And then those solutions become the what I market to my clients, whether it's letters, mailers, social media, my newsletter. Hey, buyers, here's what's going on in the market. And here's what my buyers are telling me. Here are the barriers to their ability to purchase. And here's what we do to help eliminate those barriers. So once you present a buyer or someone who wants to be a buyer, but they're not because of those issues, once you present them with some solutions, the phone tends to ring. Hey man, saw your video or got your letter. We've been thinking about buying for the last 3 years and we're just jammed because we have a 2.8% interest rate and we don't want to move to 6.8%. But your solution says that we can potentially have the seller help us buy the rate down, right? That's just one example. On the sell side, when there's a lot of competition, how do you stand out? That's where we are now. And that's where I've created a solution now. And it does involve pricing. The second half of the question, yes, of course you have to price the home appropriately in a marketplace where there's a lot of competition. You certainly don't want to be the highest priced home on the market. I mean, simple supply and demand. But when there are a lot of listings and there are a lot of agents doing what I call posting and praying, they post it on the MLS and pray that it sells. It's very easy to create a differentiation. One, when you're at a listing consultation, and then two, in the marketplace. You know, in a marketplace where we have tons of competition, tons of listings, you have to generate a solution within that market shift for what's going on in the market. Is it underpricing a little bit? Is it creating an event? I try to create events around my listings now, meaning I bind up demand for them. I'm doing videos. I'm doing coming soon stuff. I'm promoting this thing, but I'm disallowing people from viewing the home until we're ready for them at open houses. And then we launch into an open house weekend event, 2-hour open houses, and I try to get an offer that weekend. And it's been working really well, even in this marketplace. In the last 7 months, I've sold an additional $9 million of real estate from people coming into my open houses. So, you know, kind of rewinding the tape to one of the questions earlier about generating business. Open houses in this marketplace, especially in the United States, are very valuable because people don't know how to navigate the settlement of with the National Association of Realtors. Buyers don't understand what it really means, but they do know that they can go into open houses. So for me, standing on the other side of the door with buyers coming in the door, it's led to a lot of business, and it's led to a lot of double-ended deals where I'm bringing the buyer that came through the open house. So, you know, creating a strategy of the moment, finding solutions, pricing appropriately, creating an event, all that sort of stuff, really depending on market conditions, it really is setting yourself aside and trying to create solutions instead of getting on social media and propagating the issues in the market. Go ahead, mention the issue, but then develop a solution right behind it.
Awesome. Thank you, Trevor. We're going to go ahead to Donald.
All right. Well, it seems like a lot of the people out there are having issues with inventory and too much inventory. We're the opposite. In New Hampshire, we're basically Boston North, and we have a lack of inventory. So what I have to say about getting the pricing right may be different in your particular market. But when you're in a market that has limited inventory, I set up a condition so that the buyer or the seller actually has to call me and say, I want a price drop. And the way I've come up with a program to do that is I just set them up that every week I give them the market stats. And then right or wrong, I don't even call them about it unless they want to call back. And then they're going to be looking at these stats every week saying, hey, how come that dog house down there on Redwood Lane sold and mine didn't? You know, they're like, they'll figure it out. And then I recommend a couple of options. And that is when I go in for a listing, I'll say, look, there's two ways we can sell this property. Number one, we can go in 5% below market and create a frenzy and have 26 people walk through and have 14 offers on the table. Or if you're not comfortable with that, we could try listing it at the recommended range or just a freckle below. And then let's see, but that won't bring as many people, but you'll still get some offers. What makes more sense, Mr. Seller? And then another thing I do is I will take a listing because of my market conditions. I will take a listing 5 to 10% over if under additional provisions, they write in that the market price is going to drop in the MLS in 30 days to the number that I gave them. So you're in control of that. You just have to probably explain all that. And then another thing is I don't look at the actives and pendings in my market. I only look at what has sold in the last 6 months. If I'm in a town where there's no inventory, then I will go out, maybe 20 miles around it, and I'll go out 6 months. I may even go a year, but I come up with sold listings, and then I go in fully prepared, tax card, tax bill, deed, everything, sold comparables, their previous MLS listing when they bought it 8 years ago. And then I just lay it all out and say, give me the tour. Nice to meet you. Give me the tour. Okay, let's sit down at the kitchen table if you have a minute. And then I go over everything. Here's your packet. Here's my packet. I think I can sell this house. Do you need any staging advice? I go over all that. But bottom line is I show them the clothes, and then I discuss. It's important to touch on absorption rate, which is, your cape that you want to list for 700,000. There's about 9 years of inventory on the market. So do you really want to be at the top of the pricing range? You have to explain to them absorption rate and why you can't price it low. Or maybe I'm not the right person for this job. You'll find somebody else down the road. And then lastly, I can always blame it on the appraiser. Look, it ain't me, it's the appraiser. There's a good chance that somebody's going to come in, want a mortgage. They're only the appraiser is going to go along with my numbers, and they're going to say it's worth $655, and you want to hold out for $755. What do you do when you put it under agreement for $755 and the appraiser comes back at $655? I make them answer that question, and then that way you get them into the range that you want them to be in to begin with anyway. And that's my scoop.
Awesome, Donald. Thank you. So make them make the decision. You provide the information and all that stuff. That's what I get from it, and that's awesome. Thank you, everyone. We're gonna go ahead on the next one, but really want to skip about the technology part, because really we have discussed a lot of technology already, right? So I love this part. This question is about the client experience, which is really what we're here for, is to provide value. So what's your approach to building lasting relationship and generate referrals and repeat business? And how do you handle challenging situations, whether it's in the negotiation process with a competitive market or a complex property issues? I'm going to go ahead to you, Darren. Thank you.
Yeah. So, what's my approach to building lasting relationships? Well, for me, it's just being a real person, being myself, being authentic, being genuine. Taking interest in their life, their motivation. Their family. Asking them. I think it's all about the questions you start asking them. When I walk in and talk to people, or I'm going to meet a seller, I'm like, especially at first, even with buyers or even at open houses, like the last thing I'm talking about is the house and all of that. Like, I'm talking more about their life. I'm asking them questions about why they're even wanting to move in the first place, why they even want to sell in the first place, how many kids they have, where they're from. I'm asking them all those things, and I'm trying to listen for the key things that they're basically telling me are their concerns. And so I find that people, when they know that you're listening, and whatever they say to me, I try to repeat. So if they tell me one of their concerns, I'm gonna repeat that to them, kind of like in a summary, just to kind of show them I'm actively listening. And I think people really respect that. I think people subconsciously feel like you care when they know that you're actually hearing to what they're really saying. Sometimes people, they say things and they say what they want, but that's not really what they want or need, and that's where it's like being a really good listener, and asking questions. That's if I find myself talking more than asking questions, then I know I've already lost the people. So I try to be really conscious of that. And there's a lot of times I'm not good at that, because I love, especially when we talk about real estate and all that, I get excited. But that's something I've had to work on over the years, and really look inward and try to look at recognizing when, I'm talking too much and I need to be asking more questions. But I find that really helps me figure out their motivation, and then from there I can, lay out a plan after they tell me everything. This is how we're going to get you to X, Y, and Z by this time, and I can lay out a plan custom to, their concerns, their wants and desires, and they feel heard. What am I doing after to build the experience? Like I mentioned before, I do have a lot of automations and systems in place. And I know, the question before kind of had the word leverage in there, which I love. Leverage to me is it allows me a little bit more freedom, especially the busier you get. I think you have to leverage, you have to invest back in your business. Otherwise, you're just never going to eat, sleep, or spend time with your family, So I automate things like, weekly newsletters, events. We do client appreciation events every year. I find, we got 200-300 people that come out and they love it. Just from that one event, I probably, spend maybe $6,000 on the event, and probably I get tons of referrals from that. It pays for itself tenfold. But not only that, you get to see the children at these events. You get to know their family. You get to meet people that they bring. It just, it's bigger than just buying or selling a house. It's like you're building relationships with people, and I think if you get these people to look at you more as like a friend rather than the realtor, the business guy, I think you'll be able to have a great referral based business. But touching on the leverage thing, I know one thing that personally we just had a team meeting about this week, so I figured I would share. It's and I hope that this is helpful for some of you guys. Is figuring out, what things you need to get out of your business and things that you need to focus on. I know for me, if you have a sheet of paper, you can write this down in 4 quadrants and just write an X. And in the top left box, you could put non-negotiables. In the top right, you can put delegate. In the bottom left, you can put automate. In the bottom right, you can put eliminate. And if you fill out all 4 of those boxes, honestly and transparently, you will find that I think it will give you a little bit more clarity in your business. I know it has for me. What are my non-negotiables every day? What are the things that only I can do, right? What are the things that, I can only go to the gym for myself. Nobody can work out for me. Only I can meet with my family. Only I can go on listing appointments, non-negotiable things. And then what you can delegate, are using a transaction coordinator? Do you have a virtual assistant? Do you have buyer's agents? Do you have, whatever, what can you delegate off your plate? And then automation is like all system based, CRMs, newsletters. For our mailing system, we use something called Mailbox Power, where all my clients are put in there and they get mailers throughout the year. Happy Easter, happy birthday. I mean, it's all automated and they get these custom made cards, and it's just another touch point for me where I can send physical mailers and it's an automation. So I don't have to do it all the time. And then eliminate, which I think is the most important, which is what are you focusing on? For me, for example, I can eliminate, scrolling on social media. That's something that, I could look at my phone and look up and an hour went by sometimes. Right. And so, meetings that I don't need to attend, and like, what can I eliminate in my life that's taking me away? Another thing I heard, and I'll end with this, is a guy who's actually the owner of Sphere Rocket, which is a virtual assistant company, the CEO. He has a house manager. He pays $800 a month, and the house manager goes to his house for 2 hours a day. And what they do is they pick up the toys for the kids. They clean the counters. It's a glorified, I would say, housekeeper, but a little bit more the way he talked about them. And they're doing all the things to make not only his life easier, but his wife's life easier. And because he's taking that off of his plate, he's able to, focus more on the business. And essentially that $800 is being multiplied in the amount of money he's able to generate in his business, because he's not focused on, picking up the toys for kids and, cleaning up the house, and his wife's happy. So he's in a better mindset. And, all those things about leverage excite me. And I think most of us realtors, especially the busy ones, should try to put more time into how you can leverage your business. And I think making this 4-quadrant is a great start. So I just wanted to share that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Darian. Yeah, I noticed that you're more about getting to know your clients, and it's all about them, like I think that's the great point, because really a lot of people, including us, we all like talking about ourselves, but really when we are in the business, it's more about our clients, our service. Thank you so much. Chris, I'm going to go to you, please.
Okay, well, I think you had mentioned, what do we do to keep our client relationships going? And I think Darren made a lot of great points there. I don't know if I need to go over all the same things again, because I think that they will apply to just about everybody here. But I think you actually had asked or mentioned what we do for when we're in difficult situations and problem solving. And, something that I find, just to kind of shift a bit and answer something different, I think it's very important for all of us, and, for realtors and, in life, in business, whatever. I find there are, certain people, when things go badly, or when there's problems, or when we make mistakes, which we are all going to as realtors, we're all going to make some mistakes at some point. And, just to own up to those mistakes when we make them, I think there's huge value in that, and that earns a lot of trust. Obviously the transparency of it, but, I find that it's something that a lot of people struggle with, realtors, clients, and, just people in general. We're all making mistakes. We're all going to occasionally do something that we shouldn't have, or we could have done better. And, when you're in this situation, you're representing a client, and, something wasn't done well, like, you gotta own up to it. You gotta be honest and straightforward, and you gotta work your butt off to fix it. And, I'm one of those people, when things aren't going well, I'm that much more available at that point. And, I will make sure that, I'll just explain to whoever I'm dealing with that, I'm going to, give it absolutely everything to fix it and to correct things and make them better and blah, blah, blah. And, own up, apologize. And I think that goes a long way with a lot of people versus, the approach of turn your phone off and try and avoid people and try and avoid the situation or whatever. That never works. I don't like that approach myself, but yeah, I mean, it's tough to do when things are going badly. It's tough to kind of own up and accept that you've made a mistake, and it's time to grind it out and get things fixed. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much. I like to get everything, all the questions answered, because and I think our audience would love to get that all answered too. But right now we're running out of time, and I think everyone, thank you, everyone. You provide so much great information to help our co-agents, and these are all great information. And thank you so much for your insight, your experience, your transparency. This is what helped elevate our entire real estate community here in EXP. Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you so much, everyone.
I want to thank all of you
Thanks a
for
lot,
being
guys.
here today. You guys have been amazing. You know what? I just want to thank you so much for everyone watching on YouTube. We are here every Friday. Next